Okay, it looks like we are now live on YouTube. Should anybody be watching this, we are actually not going to be paying any attention to the live on YouTube. We are basically doing this to show what is happening when you set up a webinar. So I've got that full screen. I won't be seeing what's going on with the YouTube account because if I'm doing a webinar, I want my people basically engaging over in the Zoom event itself for registration, and they come in as attendees and the whole 9 yards. So you go in to set up a webinar in Zoom, you simply give it a title. You could give it a description if you are going to require registration, because the only place that and your branding shows up is on your email and your registration page. If you previously saved a template, you can use it. If it's first time, you don't have any template, but you could save your first one. You set the time, the date, the approximate length that it will take, but this does not control the length. This is simply to give your attendees a guide as to how long they may be involved. So I can schedule it to begin at 4. I could start it whenever. I can end it whenever. You want it in your time zone that you're going to be holding the event in. In other words, if I'm here in Davidson County right now, I would set it for Central Time Zone. Or just my home and I were traveling to Denver next week and going to do a presentation from there next week, I would set it to Mountain Time Zone so that when people add it to their calendars, it shows their correct local time that it will be happening. You can set it to for reoccurring webinar, registration required, video on or off for both you and your panelists. Whether they use a telephone, computer audio, I do both because you have no idea what's best for your attendees. Let them decide. You can have a password if you feel like you need a little more security than what is offered. I don't fool with it. Set up your Q&A so that they can ask questions in one thing rather than have the questions go into the regular chat where you have to fit them and sort them and out everything. This is much better. You do want to enable a practice session so that you can come in and practice with or without your panelists any number of times before you start the actual broadcast. Enable HD video for view-only users. You can do that as long as you're certain that you won't have a bunch of viewers being on the same local network. In other words, if I've got a office and I've got 7 people in it, I'm not going to enable that because that increases the bandwidth. It will put more load on their local network, which may interfere with the recording and everything, how they pixelate or whatever. So why put the extra strain on somebody's network, if you can prevent it? Only signed in users can join. If you want somebody in your domain signed in under that, go ahead and click that. Record the webinar automatically. I would not do that simply because it starts when you start your practice session. And you may be putting something out there that you really don't want out there. Now, granted, you can adjust the playback time of the video once it's ended, but why take the chance? Just go ahead and try and remember that, you do your practice session, you get your panelists in, and then it's like Mert says, quiet on the set, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you start the recording, everything works great. Okay? And once you get all that done, you can say schedule. And once that's scheduled, then you get all these other tabs that you can do. And we go in later. We can go into this later in the actual thing that I'm doing on the 13th. This was just a test. And I'd like to thank you. If you're watching over on YouTube, we can deal with that later about how you can have co-hosts over there copying into this and everything. But basically, this was just a test of streaming to YouTube without actually engaging in the YouTube, because there's no way that somebody watching on YouTube, they can comment in the live chat over there, but I would never see it here unless I had a separate screen watching it or something. So we are now going to stop the recording. Then we're going to stop the sharing. First, we're going to stop the live stream.